welcome back to Legendary Interviews, where I will discuss interviews that has impacted society in this country and worldwide. Today, I will discuss the Meek Mill interview on CNN. Now, topic number one was about a discussion between Meek Mill and the interviewer about how the justice system is part of a plan to keep people down. Now, the interviewer agrees that the justice system needs to be reformed, but he seemed to disagree on another point that Meek Mill made, and he asked what was the basis for saying the justice system today is all part of a plan to keep people subjugated.
Just going far back as parole and probation, like a lot of people who go back in and out of prison are being stalked by a parole system or a probation system where not even committing crime puts you back in prison. And I learned from personal experience. I actually spent time with men that had 28 months in prison for a $100 bail. They wasn't even found guilty for their crimes, and $100 kept them in prison. And we had the taxpayers, even myself, had to pay money to keep guys like this in prison. And it was for like a petty crime. And things like that never made sense to me, even being on probation. I've been on probation since I was 19 years old. I'm 31 years old. Growing up in the system, I always thought this was normal, and I didn't value myself the way that I value myself now. And as I look back at it, just seeing people work in prison for 8 cents an hour, not really be able to pay their dues and pay their debts back to society. They was paying their debts back to the system, and money was being made.
I know, but in the video you say this is part of the plan, that it's all about subjugation of African Americans. And I'm not understanding where's the evidence for that. That we have an unfair system, I get it. Yeah, but that it's all part of a grand design, I'm not seeing.
Yeah, my vision of it is I see that some of these statutes and laws are basically targeted towards a certain group of people where we are like trapped inside of a system that's extremely hard up for us to get out and control. I don't know who made it. I don't know who responsible it became. Many years before me, I was born into the system, into this lifestyle, and I don't feel like anybody is addressing it to try to help fix things. It's a lot of things in the system that clearly don't make sense to the world, but it's going on today, and it's keeping many young black men caught up in the system without even committing crime.
Are you able to square that with the fact that the judge with whom you've had so many run-ins recently is herself African American?
Yeah, I ain't even blame it on like Caucasian African American. I think it's actually a mindset of actually self-hate. I don't think it's really a thing of a certain color, but it's designed to keep people like myself and the culture I come from. You could be white and come from where I come from and born in these conditions and still get caught up in the same design.
We know nothing is new under the sun. When slaves were free, there was put in the 13th Amendment for the Constitution that it was illegal to hold someone as a slave. But the loophole in the Constitution is except as a punishment for a crime. This loophole has been exploited ever since. This is why all prisons in America are majority filled with black and brown people. Topic number two, the interviewer asked Meek Mill, is Trump an ally to the cause of justice reform?
I'm not a politician, but I feel like anything that a president does to fix laws and statutes that don't make any sense and are unfair to American people is the right thing to do for anybody to do.
You know that, I mean, this has been a rare issue where he has sought to do something bipartisan in nature. Surely you're familiar with his efforts in this regard.
Yeah, I'm not too familiar with everything Donald Trump do because I don't really keep up with politics. I see when they say he passed bills. What was the last bill he passed, you know? I don't know exactly the last bill he passed, but I think it was involving the crack and cocaine bill where, you know, you get probably 5 times more jail time for having crack than you having cocaine. And crack is, of course, an urban community drug of choice, and cocaine is more like a suburban, or I would say I call it two Americas, where you have one America where it's almost like the white America and a black America. And crack cocaine is a black America choice of drug, and cocaine is a white America choice of drug.
Of course we know he's not an ally to justice reform. I mean, he did listen to Kim Kardashian and she got someone pardoned, out of prison. But overall, he's not advocating for laws that supports justice reform. And the things that he's doing in this country looks like it advocates for people being locked up and banned from this country through deportation or not being allowed in. Now, topic number 3 was about the Jay-Z lyric and on Meek Mill's song, "Was Free." The interviewer tried to insinuate that Jay-Z went after Kanye on Meek Mill's song.
I ask about politics, and I ask about President Trump in particular because, as you well know, Jay-Z goes after Kanye on your new album over the whole Make America Great Again business.
Yeah, and I don't think he really goes after Kanye. I think he actually just says, like, don't let them separate us like they did Michael Jackson and Prince, basically. Kanye came out of nowhere and just went red hat, and that was, like, kind of against everything we represent. I don't know what he represents, but coming up in the hip-hop community, we came up fighting for our rights for a long time, and what that red hat don't really represent what we've been fighting for our whole lives.
If the interviewer did his job or research, he would have known that was not the case based on Jay-Z's tweet. Now, this is Jay-Z's lyrics in the song "Was Free." "No red hat, don't Michael and Prince me and Ye. They separate you when you got Michael and Prince's DNA." Based on Jay-Z's clarification, he wanted to point out that the media could be trying to do this just like they tried to do it with Michael Jackson and Prince. He wanted Kanye to know that even if he disagrees with him on his views, they are still brothers. And last but not least, topic number 4, which relates to the post that Meek Mill had in the New York Times. So relating to this post, the interviewer tried to discredit Meek Mill by showing a negative comment someone made about the story Meek Mill wrote in the New York Times, basically saying he's done more than just Papa Willie. But I'll show you this clip, which will explain better than I can, and this is where Meek Mill sets the interviewer straight.
I was arrested for pointing a gun at a whole strike force. You know what a strike force? A strike is when 5 or 6 cops come to do a bust. I was arrested for pointing a gun at 2 or 3 cops without any shots being fired. And this is for America. Now we have, like, cameras and hand cameras. I want to ask you, do you really believe I pointed a gun at 2 or 3 cops without a single shot being fired? A young black man and...
I don't know what the underlying facts are. I just don't want to ignore the argument that some make that, hey, Meek Mill's not the guy who should be making this case.
I just want to explain it. I just want to know from a personal opinion, do you believe a young black man in America can point a gun at 2 or 3 cops? Because I'm not the only one that get found guilty for these things. Cops charge people with these things at an alarming rate, and people take deals because they don't have lawyer money or they can't afford attorneys to even fight for their freedom. Do you believe that a young black man can lift up a firearm and point a gun at 2, 3 cops while they're attempting to do a bust with their firearms out and not a single shot being fired? That don't even make sense in America. And I never really spoke on that because I never valued myself growing up in a ruthless environment. I seen that happen to many kids, so it was just normal to me. And as I grew up, I always felt embarrassed being around, like, my Caucasian friends. And I used to always say, like, do you believe I pointed a gun at a cop? Where I come from, like, I'm on a successful path. I got sense. Pointing a gun at a police officer is suicide for a black young man. I never thought about committing suicide in my life, so that's almost like disrespect to me. And I was accused by another black cop, which things I speak on my album Championship, where I talk about self-hate. So I don't know how people could say that they don't think I should be the face of it. I was wrongly accused. I was sent to jail multiple times for not even committing crime. I've been sent to jail at least 2 or 3 times just for being addicted to Percocets and never sent to rehab. I was sent to jail for popping a woolly. If you follow me on Instagram, which many of these kids in America do, I've been popping woolies on my Instagram across America for the last 10 years, and I never was arrested. The farthest it ever went was a traffic ticket. And my whole message to get across is if somebody like myself who's doing so good for myself, I'm not involved in crime, I've been working, I employ people, I pay taxes, if probation can stalk me down and bring me back to a state penitentiary without committing crime, what could it do to these other kids that are trapped in these environments surrounded by crime and violence? They don't stand a chance. You have thousands of kids that will be destined to be put in prison for the rest of their life. Their beds are already made up.
Alrighty, guys, thank you guys for sticking around to the very end. Here are the top messages that I received from this interview. Number 1, the justice system needs to be changed for the better. Number 2, value yourself as a human being. Number 3, stay united within your community. Number 4, Meek Mill is a voice for the oppressed. Again, if you like this content, be sure to like, share, and subscribe, and I will see you guys soon.